In this video, I want to talk about how to check battery health on your iPad. I want to show you a way how you can access this kind of information without any computer or any downloading of third-party programs, but then later in the video I'm gonna show you how you can do that with third-party software as well. So what exactly is the battery health? Well, if you don't know, it's the battery percentage, which represents the entire capacity of your battery, which naturally degrades over time and it's becoming less and less functional with a smaller capacity throughout the time you use it. It's not the current battery charging status and the percentage there, which you can see when you swipe down to the control center. It isn't that, most importantly. On our iPhones, we can very easily access it if you go to the settings and navigate to the battery section. There, if you take a look at that, there is the battery health. Right there, you can tap it and see the maximum capacity of your iPhone. On the iPad, it is not there. And here is the way how you can access it without a computer. So on your iPad, you have to make sure to go to the settings, and on the scrolling panel, make sure to scroll to privacy. And once you are there, then go to the analytics and search for log dash aggregated with some sort of date which is supposed to be the latest one. If I'm going too fast, just make sure to pause the video or skip around it if you want it, because it should have timestamps. So the file that we are looking for is usually named log dash aggregated dash the date, usually the latest one like I said, and it should end with the .ips. Now you are supposed to choose the latest one, because naturally you would like to have the latest information on your battery health and capacity. Once you open up the file, the information there and the text isn't gonna be very readable, and it's just not something that the regular person understands, of course. But you can get some interesting information from this. If you happen to not be able to find this file that I'm talking about, keep watching the video, because I will also explain and tell you what to do if you cannot find it. Now you are of course here in this section and there is so much text and so much stuff going on, but there is also the share icon in the upper right corner. And if you click that, you can share this analytics sheet or whatever you want to call it, this information. But our goal is to export it into some sort of text editor where you would be able to search for whatever information you want. And there are some options that of course show up depending on which apps you have installed and which is the option for you, of course. I personally have a coding app which is or serves the purpose of note-taking for programming and coding, which works really well with this. And you can see that if I scroll, this is the icon which I can click and use this app to export my analytics sheet. So I can very easily export it to this app, and you can also use whatever works for you. I will talk about more options, but let's just use this one for example. So once you click that, the text and all of the information will open up in the app as a separate file. And here it means that you can use the search and magnifying glass to find whatever you want. So once you are here and search for pretty much anything, you make sure to search for maximum capacity percent. And you should find a piece of text and piece of information which says something about your battery health, and it should look something like this. It should have the key, com.apple power battery, and maximum capacity percent, and the number there represents your actual battery health. Now you are probably wondering why this number is 106 on my device and how is it possible that it is above 100%. And I have to tell you that this is the actual battery capacity. It is weird, of course, I know, but stay tuned and keep watching, because later I will connect it to a computer and it's gonna tell me exact numbers on how much and how many milliamp hours and what's really going on with the 106% of battery capacity, which is completely different, and I've never actually heard of something like this. Anyways, let's continue with the video. And of course, just like we talk about, this number represents the maximum capacity of your battery that your iPad holds. You can of course export this information to notes and other apps, but I cannot really go through all of them, and every single one of them does something different. Just make sure to export it to an app which allows you to search through the text to find the term that we wanted to. If it happens that you are not able to find this file among your analytics reports, then there is probably one thing that you didn't turn on, and it's the Share Analytics with Apple. I don't like to do it either, and in my case I could not find this file, it just was not there on the iPad. And the problem, of course, was that I didn't check it and I didn't allow my analytics to be shared with Apple. You know, the thing that when you set up a new device, whether it's an iPhone or iPad, Apple asks you if you want to allow it or not. And you can see that analytics and improvement, you can always toggle that feature on and off. So share iPad analytics, and if you don't have that enabled, then you will not be able to find the file that I just talked about in order to check out the battery capacity. So in that case, what you are supposed to do is to share iPad analytics, like turn it on, and wait about 24 hours until you get that file in the library or in the list of analytics data. Naturally, you can disable it later once you find out what you wanted to find out. Now the question is why they didn't include it, like what's the big deal with it? Well, we cannot know for sure, of course, and we're talking about Apple, so there are plenty of things that we have no idea why they work the way they do, but this is also one of them. And there are some things or arguments for it are that it just simply cannot be there because you can't officially replace the battery on the iPad. So there's no reason in doing that. There's no reason in adding the battery health percentage on the iPad settings. I mean, of course, if you're the type of person to bring the old iPad back to the Apple Store and buy a new one every single time, that's not really a problem, but many people, myself included, wouldn't want to have that option available to us. It's also really important if you are buying like a second-hand iPad of Craigslist or something and you would like to check it out and it's just not there in the settings, like you cannot really plug it into a computer and check it out manually. This also isn't a method that we would like to have, but it's still something that you can check out or at least do in person without any other additional software or computer. Like I said, there's also a way to check this information out using a computer, and probably a little bit easier one, but the downside is that it requires another piece of tech to be around and connecting and all of that. So there are two apps which usually work for this kind of purpose, and it's the Coconut Battery as well as the iMazing. If you would like to use Coconut Battery, you have to download it, of course. It's a free app which allows you to pay for more premium features just like most of the other apps. But you can also use it for free. So you download, install it, and open up the Coconut Battery on your Mac. Then you just connect your iPad to the Mac. You can use whatever cable you have in case you have like a Lightning to USB-C or USB-C both ways depending on what iPad you have. And there are 3 tabs in the Coconut Battery app. It tells you about this computer, then the history of the device, which in my case is the MacBook Air, and the iOS device, which if you click on that, it tells you that you have to plug something in using a USB cable. So in our case, I connected my iPad with the both-way USB-C to my MacBook, and after a while, of course, I had to trust the device on the iPad, so I had to type the passcode in, and after a while, it just shows me the information available for my iPad. But it's kind of weird because it tells you and it compares the design capacity with the actual capacity. And in my case, it tells me that the design capacity is actually smaller than the full charge capacity, which is kind of funny to be honest, and I kind of don't know what's really going on with this, but in either case it's just good, because the iPad was supposed to be designed with 7,596 milliamp hours, but my full charge capacity is more than 7,880 milliamp hours. And if you take a look at that before, I mean in the settings version and in the analytics data, it showed me that my device capacity is 106%. And that's really interesting because it has even more capacity than 100%. It's kind of funny, but definitely some nice tools that you can check out and know about your health of your battery on your iPad. The other app that I mentioned briefly was called iMazing, but it's just a different user experience, a different user interface, I wanted to say, and it's just a different app, different software, but it does the very same purpose, and I like Coconut Battery more. Definitely take and pick which one you want, but the point of the video was how to check this information out without a computer. Anyways, guys, we're getting close to the end of the video. Hopefully you like it, hopefully you enjoyed it, because I find this kind of stuff to be very interesting. And if you don't want to miss future uploads in which I talk about some similar things and similar interesting concepts and tutorials, make sure to stay tuned and subscribe to the Apple Fox channel. Hope you liked the video and see you guys in the future.